Hello, class. Welcome back to our reading review of Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 4. Onward. So, this is the deal. He doesn't kill Claudius, and I think we can all agree because of irrational assumptions and letting his hubris fuel his illogical decision making process. He doesn't base his decision on logic, he lets his emotions, his irrational assumptions, his hubris fuel his decision to not kill Claudius. Now, okay, remember, there's only one person the ghost tells him to kill. Remember, he tells us, now I could drink hot blood and do the bitter business that the bitter day would quake to look on. Okay, do that to Claudius. Why are you killing Polonius? Now, for those of you that think, right, maybe he thinks it's Claudius behind the curtain, plot. Right? Hamlet leaves Claudius. He says, my mother stays, this physic doth prolong thy sickly days. And then Claudius rises. So Hamlet's already on his way to his mother's room when Claudius rises and he says, my words fly up, my thoughts remain below. Words without thoughts, never to heaven go. So how could he get behind the curtain? Logistically, the plot does not support that reading. Therefore, factually, I think Hamlet knows it's Polonius. Why? What does Polonius say? What? Ho, help, help, help. Now, this is Hamlet's girlfriend's father, who we can presume he's known for quite some time and would recognize his voice. Shakespeare has him say 5 words out loud, right? I would think he would recognize his voice. Again, I think we see his arrogance here, and he wants to not really take responsibility in terms of what Gertrude, the responsibility that Gertrude wants him to take, right? And he said, right, he says after they pull it and they realize, he says, "Is it the king?" Right? And she says, "Oh, what a rash and bloody deed is this?" And he says, "A bloody deed almost as bad, good mother, as kill a king and marry with his brother." And she says, "As kill a king?" Line 31. I think this part of the play also supports the fact that I don't think Gertrude is aware of the plan that Hamlet is. Obviously, she's chosen to marry Claudius hastily. Could it be out of love or lust, as Hamlet says, or is it a power move? But here, I think we see that in no way, shape, or form was she guilty or complicit in the plot against old King Hamlet. And remember what the ghost tells him: leave your mother alone, right? And what happens? So they discover the body of Polonius. Okay, so Hamlet has been thinking about murder, thinking about suicide, thinking about the afterlife. He's extremely philosophical, he's extremely logical in Acts 1, in Acts 2, in Act 3, Scene 1. But then Act 3, Scene 2, we see the way he treats Ophelia after the to be or not to be speech. Act 3, Scene 3, the way he's dealing with the play within the play. And now Act 3, Scene 4. He gives Polonius what? 3 lines. That's it. You just murdered someone you weren't supposed to. No soliloquy, no deep reflection. I think once he has his proof in 3-3 and he knows he's right, he gets cocky and arrogant, and his hubris fuels his decision making process instead of logic. Thou wretched, right? We're on lines 32 here. Thou wretched, rash, intruding fool, farewell. I took thee for thy better. Take thy fortune. Thou findest too busy is some danger. That's all he says. Yeah, take your bad luck. Maybe if you weren't spying on people, you wouldn't be in such a dangerous situation. You just murdered him. Technically, right? It's his father's stepfather, if you would, the king's second in command, right? You'd be like the vice president nowadays, as Claudius told us earlier in the play. You're so important to the state. And it's his girlfriend, even though they're broken up's father. It's a really big deal, and it doesn't seem to register with him. And he immediately starts berating his mother, so much so that the ghost has to reappear. Now, I think we can all agree, right, before the ghost appears, the things that that he says to his mother, it seems like an unhealthy interest in her romantic life with Claudius. Just like it seems like Polonius and Laertes may have an unhealthy interest in Ophelia's romantic life. Now, counter argument, let's engage in the dialectic. Polonius is just looking out for his daughter. Laertes is just looking out for his sister. Okay. But the Hamlet and Gertrude one, I don't really know how one could say that. Again, is he trying to help his mother to realize just how disgusted he is by the fact that she's sleeping with his uncle? Okay, fair enough. It works. I mean, if you look at lines 70 through lines 90, he describes um, lots of moments where he feels she's weak for not resisting temptation. And his last lines are, and reason panders will, right? Reason is logos, will is pathos. What he's saying is you're giving into your emotions. You're not thinking logically, right? And she starts recognizing. She says, "Oh, but right before she's starting to have this moment, she says, 'No more, no more.'" And what does he say? This is extremely graphic, right? Lines 93, 94, 95. Nay, but to live in the rank sweat of an enseamed bed, stewed in corruption, honeying and making love over the nasty sty? And she says, "Oh, speak no more to me. The words like daggers enter into my ears. No more, sweet Hamlet." And he says, "A murderer and a villain, a slave." Blah, 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 and then he's nothing like my father. How could you do this? How could you do this? And right, the ghost shows up to remind him what he needs to do. Now, what's interesting about this? She can't see the ghost. So there's two ways to look at this. Is the ghost real and only making itself visible to Hamlet? But remember earlier, Marcellus, Bernardo, and Horatio were able to see the ghost too. Or is Hamlet's antic disposition taking over? And is this a hallucination? Has he been pretending to play men? Uh, what does he say? My antic disposition, madness. Excuse me. Has he been pretending to be mad so long that now it's actually happening? Is it a self-fulfilling prophecy? Is his schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder, hallucinations, delusions, denial, has it all come together? And is this one more manifestation of a mental condition that he's suffering from? The debate rages on, but a fact is she can't see the ghost. So that definitely leaves that interpretation open to validity. So um, as the scene goes on, right, he basically tells his mom, "Don't sleep with him anymore. Just one night at a time, one day at a time," right? And the scene ends with Gertrude completely shook up. He kills Polonius. He's seeing ghosts of his dead father, right? Um, and Hamlet, right, drags the body of Polonius out, thinking that he's convinced his mother to stop sleeping with Claudius, and things just become more and more complicated from here in terms of Hamlet's plan to exact his revenge on Claudius. Uh, because I think we can agree he had the opportunity. He had the opportunity in 3-3. He did not take it. And the character that he has become, killing Polonius, I think is definitely exemplative of his irrational assumptions and letting his hubris fuel his decision making process instead of logic. So, that being said, stay tuned. Act 4, Scene 1 is up next.